The battlefield was silent. Not the calm, peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that comes after something terrible. The air above the planet's surface still shimmered from the heat of plasma fire. The smell of burned metal and scorched soil mixed with the faint echo of distant thunder. Wrecked ships lay scattered across the valley. Alien steel twisted like paper, engines still glowing with dying energy. This was the end of the Carthian warfront, or so the galactic forces believed. The battle logs marked the enemy as neutralized. But among the debris something still moved. Deep within the smoke, a massive shadow struggled to breathe. Its wings were torn, scales cracked, and molten blood hissed where it touched the ground. It was a Carthian dragon, one of the last of its kind. A creature so feared that even battle-hardened soldiers whispered its name like a curse. Every alien in the recovery crew froze when they saw it. The medics, a team from the Valoran system, had been ordered to tend to any living beings found in the ruins. But when their scanners lit up with the creature's biosignature, panic spread through them like fire. The readings were wrong: unstable energy levels, dangerous radiation, unknown toxins. "Stay back," one of them said, his voice shaking. "That thing's a death trap. It shouldn't even be alive." Another medic, taller and calmer, frowned at the scanner. "Its vitals are collapsing. Whatever it is, it won't survive for long." "Good," someone muttered. "Let it die." "Do you remember what those things did to the outpost at Vorn 9? No one replied. They all remembered. The Carthian dragons had been war machines, living weapons, controlled by enemy warlords. They burned cities, vaporized fleets, and left planets in ashes. To most of the galaxy, they weren't creatures. They were nightmares given form. Still, it was alive. And alive things were supposed to be treated. That was the rule. But none of them moved closer. The dragon's chest rose and fell slowly, its breath rattling like thunder under stone. Its golden eye flickered open for a moment, full of pain and fear. Then, a human voice broke the silence. "I'll take it." The medics turned. Standing behind them was Commander Elias Ward, a human combat medic from Earth. His armor was old, scratched, and dust-covered. His face was calm, but his eyes, those human eyes, carried something different. Determination. "Commander, are you insane?" One of the aliens snapped. "That thing's unstable. It could kill you before you even touch it." Elias walked forward, slow and steady. "Then I'll die trying," he said. The aliens watched in disbelief as the human stepped closer to the dragon. The ground trembled beneath his boots. The heat from the creature's wounds felt like standing next to a reactor core. But Elias didn't stop. He knelt beside the dragon's head. The creature's breathing was shallow now. Its once proud wings lay torn across the dirt. "You can hear me, can't you?" Elias whispered. "You're still fighting." The dragon's eye opened again, faint light swirling inside like a dying star. Elias opened his medical pack. His hands moved with quiet focus, scanning the creature's wounds, calculating vitals by instinct. The readings made no sense. Too much radiation, too much corruption. The dragon's body was a mix of biology and energy, flesh and plasma. Every cell screamed chaos. Behind him, the alien medics argued. "He's wasting his time. It's suicide. Pull him out before that thing melts his skin." Elias ignored them. He had seen worse. Humans bleeding in the dirt of burned worlds, soldiers crushed under wreckage, enemies dying with regret in their eyes. Every war taught him the same thing. Life was precious, even when others refused to see it. He found the main wound, a deep slash across the dragon's chest where its energy core pulsed faintly. A normal medic would have stepped back. Elias took out a stabilizer ampoule. He injected it straight into the wound. The ground shook. The dragon's body tensed, a deep growl rumbling from its throat. The air around Elias rippled with static energy, burning his gloves. He gritted his teeth and held the injector steady. "Come on," he muttered. "You're not done yet." A surge of plasma exploded from the wound, throwing dust into the air. The alien medics ducked for cover. Elias was thrown back several feet but rolled and got up again. His armor smoked. His skin burned. He didn't stop. He grabbed a portable field generator from his belt, slammed it into the ground, and activated a containment shield around the creature. The hum of the device filled the silence. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, the dragon's breathing slowed. The flickering lines of energy running through its body stabilized just a little. Elias exhaled, his heart pounding. "Good," he whispered. "That's good." The alien team stood at a distance, watching the human work with a kind of disbelief. Humans were strange to them, reckless, emotional, unpredictable, but also unstoppable. One of the medics finally spoke, voice low. "Why would he risk himself for that monster?" Another answered quietly, "Because he's human. They do that." Minutes passed like hours. Elias kept working, patching, sealing, stabilizing. His equipment wasn't made for something this size, this alien, but he improvised. He always did. He used nanite patches designed for soldiers and mixed them with alien plasma coagulants. The smell of burning ozone filled the air. The dragon's eye watched him, unblinking. When Elias reached to clean the final wound, the creature suddenly growled. The sound was deep, primal. Everyone froze. The ground quaked beneath them. Elias didn't move. He just looked up at the creature's face. "Easy," he said softly. "I'm trying to help you." The dragon's growl faded. It blinked slowly, exhaling a puff of smoke that rolled over the dirt. Elias smiled faintly, exhaustion in his eyes. "Yeah, I know it hurts, but you're still here. That's what matters." He looked around at the other medics. "Someone get me a thermal blanket and a coolant pack." No one moved. Elias glared. "Now!" Startled, two aliens scrambled to obey, dropping the supplies near him. As he covered the dragon's chest with the thermal wrap, Elias felt the creature's heartbeat under his hands. Slow but steady. Against all odds, it was still alive. Lightning flashed in the clouds above them, casting a pale glow across the field. For a brief moment, Elias saw the dragon's scales shimmer, colors shifting like galaxies, beautiful even in ruin. He felt something stir inside him. Pity? No, respect. He whispered to himself, "You weren't just a weapon, were you?" The dragon's eye flickered again. For a second, it looked almost aware. Elias leaned closer. "You can understand me, can't you?" No reply came, but the silence was different now. It wasn't empty anymore. Felt, listening. He stayed by the creature's side through the night, repairing, monitoring, refusing to leave. The other medics camped far away, afraid of both the beast and the human crazy enough to touch it. Hours later, when the stars began to fade into dawn, the dragon let out a long, low breath, the first sound of relief since the battle ended. Elias looked up at the sky, eyes tired but steady. "Rest now," he murmured. "You're safe." But deep down, he knew it wasn't true. Nothing about this was safe. The Galactic Council would soon find out what he had done, and they wouldn't be pleased. Healing an enemy, a monster, was a crime. Still, he didn't regret it, because for the first time in that war, Elias Ward saw something no scanner could measure. A spark of life where everyone else saw death. And he wasn't going to let it fade. The next morning came with no sunlight, only gray clouds hanging heavy over the battlefield. The storm from the night before had faded, but the air still buzzed with static energy. The ground around the wounded dragon had melted into glass from the heat of its blood. Every step near it made a soft cracking sound. Elias Ward sat beside the creature, eyes red from no sleep. He hadn't moved much through the night. His gloves were burned through, his armor scratched, and his medical scanner kept flickering from energy interference. Yet he stayed. The dragon's breathing was shallow but steady. Its scales glowed faintly with shifting colors, like the surface of a dying star. It was still alive, but just barely. Behind Elias, a group of alien medics whispered among themselves, keeping their distance. They were afraid to go near the creature, afraid even to speak too loud. "Why is he still doing this?" one muttered. "He should let it die." "Humans don't know when to stop," another replied. "They play with fire, then act surprised when it burns them." Elias ignored their voices. He adjusted the field stabilizer beside the dragon's chest, checking its energy readings. The machine wasn't designed for something like this. It kept giving errors he'd never seen before. But Elias had learned long ago that technology only mattered as much as the hands that used it. He leaned over the creature again. "You're tougher than you look," he murmured. "But this wound, it's killing you from the inside." The dragon's eye flickered open. Faint, tired, but aware. Elias felt the low hum of its breathing vibrate through the ground. The sound reminded him of engines in deep space. Slow, steady, fading. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small vial of silver liquid human nanites, experimental healing units used in battlefield surgeries. They were meant for organic tissue only. Mixing them with alien plasma was forbidden. The Galactic Council had banned it after a failed test that melted half a ship's medbay. But Elias was out of time. He took a deep breath. "If this doesn't work," he whispered to himself, "then nothing will." He set up his equipment, a cracked synthesizer unit, a plasma tube, a pulse converter. His fingers moved fast but careful, connecting cables, rerouting power, overriding safety codes. Sparks danced across the metal. The other medics finally noticed what he was doing. One of them shouted, "Commander! Stop! That's restricted tech." Elias didn't even look back. "Then don't watch. Those nanites aren't meant for alien physiology," another yelled. "You could trigger a meltdown." Elias smirked faintly. "Then I guess I'll melt first." The machine whirred to life. The silver nanites spun inside the vial, mixing with the glowing plasma. The air shimmered with faint energy. Elias could feel his heart pounding against his chest. He knew this was insane. He also knew it was the only chance. He loaded the serum into an injector the size of his arm and knelt beside the dragon's wound. The skin around it pulsed with blue light, leaking thin streams of molten energy. Elias hesitated for just a second. He looked at the creature, its massive form trembling weakly. "It's all right," he said quietly. "You've done your part. Now let me do mine." Then he pushed the injector in. The moment the serum entered the dragon's body, the world exploded with light. The ground shook violently. Waves of energy rippled through the air, throwing sand and metal debris in every direction. The alien medic screamed and took cover behind wreckage. The containment field flickered, its panels straining against the sudden surge. Elias fell backward, shielding his face from the blast. His ears rang. He could barely see through the glare. The dragon's entire body glowed from within, veins of fire tracing across its scales. For one long, endless second, everything was light. Then silence. The energy storm faded. The wind died. Slowly, Elias opened his eyes. The dragon was still there, lying still, smoke rising from its chest. The wound had stopped bleeding. The glow around its heart pulsed softly now, like a slow drumbeat. Elias crawled closer, his breathing heavy. He checked the scanner. The readings showed a weak but stable life signal. The nanites were working, repairing tissue, sealing the inner plasma core. He almost laughed in disbelief. "You're really doing it," he whispered. "You stubborn, impossible thing." From behind, a voice shouted, "Commander Ward!" Elias turned. A squad of alien officers approached, armor gleaming under the dim light. Their insignias showed high rank, council enforcement. The medics quickly stepped aside. The leading officer, a tall reptilian alien named Kaltor, pointed at Elias. "Step away from that creature immediately." Elias frowned. "I'm stabilizing it." "You step back. You're breaking 10 council laws," Kaltor growled. "Unauthorized use of human nanotechnology, cross-species contamination, and medical interference with a classified enemy specimen." Elias rose to his feet, his voice calm but sharp. "It's dying, and no one else was doing a damn thing about it." "That thing killed millions," Kaltor hissed. "It destroyed colonies. You're helping a monster." Elias looked back at the dragon. Its chest rose weakly, but its breathing was stronger now. "Maybe," he said, "but monsters don't cry out in pain. They don't try to live." The alien officer's eyes narrowed. You humans always think you can fix everything with emotion. You'll get yourself killed. Elias gave a tired smile. Maybe. But at least I'll die saving something, not watching it die. The dragon stirred slightly, its tail shifting across the ground. The medics backed away again, fearful. One of them whispered, "It's reacting to his voice." Elias placed a hand gently on the creature's chest. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe." For a moment, the air grew still again. Then the dragon's massive eye opened, glowing gold and green, alive. It turned slowly, focusing directly on Elias. The human froze, heart pounding. The creature's gaze was deep, ancient, filled with something more than pain, something that looked like awareness. Everyone else stepped back, but Elias stayed. The dragon's mouth opened slightly, and a faint sound came out. Not a roar, not a growl, but something that almost sounded like a whisper through metal. Elias didn't understand the words, but he felt them. They echoed in his head like a question. "Why help me?" Elias blinked. His mouth went dry. "Because no one else would." The dragon blinked once, slow, deliberate. Kael'tor barked an order to his guards. "Restrain the human. He's compromised." Elias turned sharply. "No one touches it." The dragon's body suddenly flared with light, and the ground trembled again. The guards froze, terrified. Elias didn't move. He raised his hands slowly. "It's okay," he said to the creature. "They're not going to hurt you." The energy around the dragon dimmed. Slowly, its head lowered back to the ground. His breathing steadied. Elias looked back at the shocked faces of the aliens. "See," he said softly. "It's not a monster. It's just scared." Kael'tor stared at him in disbelief. "You've lost your mind, human." Elias looked down at his burned gloves, his trembling hands, and the faint glow of life beneath them. "Maybe," he said quietly, "but sometimes that's what it takes to do what's right." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. None dared to move closer. Elias turned back to the dragon, adjusting the stabilizer. "Rest now," he whispered. "You're safe for now, but I think we just made a lot of enemies." Overhead, thunder rolled again, dark clouds gathering above the ruined battlefield. The war was over, but something far greater had just begun. Something forbidden, something dangerous, and something deeply human. The communication channel buzzed with static before the voice came through. Cold, sharp, and full of authority. "Commander Elias Ward, you are hereby ordered to report to the Galactic Council for immediate questioning regarding your unauthorized actions on the Orion front." The voice belonged to Admiral Kael'tor, head of Council Enforcement, the same alien officer who had seen Elias save the dragon. His tone made it clear this was not a request. Elias stood in the medical bay aboard the recovery cruiser Vigilant Dawn. The dragon, the creature he had saved, was sealed behind a reinforced containment barrier. His breathing had grown stronger. The once dim golden eye now glowed steady, following Elias whenever he passed near. He stared at it through the glass. "You're healing," he murmured. "That's what matters." Behind him, two council guards waited, their weapons holstered but ready. The taller one finally spoke. "Sir, they're waiting for you." Elias gave a slow nod, then turned to the dragon one last time. "Don't give up on me now," he whispered. The dragon's chest rose and fell with a low rumble, almost like an answer. The walk to the council chamber felt longer than any battlefield Elias had crossed. The corridors were cold and silent. Alien officers and soldiers stepped aside as he passed, some whispering, others staring at him with open disgust. By the time he entered the chamber, the tension was already thick enough to choke on. The Galactic Council Hall was enormous, circular, lined with floating holographic seats where alien delegates sat suspended in air. Each represented a species older and richer than humanity. Their robes shimmered with symbols of power. Their eyes glowed with judgment. In the center stood a single light platform for the accused. Elias stepped onto it. A voice echoed through the hall, magnified by translation drones. "Commander Elias Ward, Human Expeditionary Forces." You stand accused of violating Council Law 47, unauthorized use of restricted technology. Law 58, aiding a classified enemy. And Law 72, cross-species contamination. The words rolled through the chamber like thunder. Elias stood still, his expression calm. The lead speaker, a tall alien with silver skin and eyes like mirrors, leaned forward. "How do you plead, human?" Elias looked up at them. "Guilty," he said, "but not wrong." A wave of murmurs rippled across the chamber. The speaker frowned. "You endangered every being on that field. That creature was a Carthian dragon, a living weapon. It destroyed entire colonies. Do you deny this?" "No," Elias said. "I don't deny what it was. But I saw what it is now, dying, scared, helpless. You all walked away. I didn't." An older delegate, scaled and crimson, hissed from the far side. "You risked infection, corruption, and exposure to unstable plasma energy. Do you realize what could have happened if that monster exploded?" Elias met his gaze evenly. "Yes, but it didn't, because I stopped it." A younger alien delegate leaned forward, curiosity in her tone. "Tell us, human, why? Why risk your life for something that tried to wipe out your kind?" Elias took a slow breath. "Because when I looked at it, I didn't see an enemy. I saw a being that wanted to live. That's enough reason for me." Silence fell for a long moment. Then Kael'tor's voice broke through it. "You expect us to believe that sentiment excuses your crime?" He stepped forward, his tone sharp. "You disobeyed a direct order and tampered with forbidden tech. You should be stripped of your rank and banned from council space." Elias turned his head slightly. "If that's what it takes to do what's right, then fine." Kael'tor slammed his clawed hand on the console. "You humans think morality gives you permission to break rules. But your kind is dangerous. Reckless." Elias smiled faintly. "Maybe, but at least we try." The council erupted in noise. Angry voices overlapping, translation drones buzzing to keep up. "He defies us. He should be confined. This human is unstable." The lead speaker finally raised a hand, silencing the room. "Enough." His mirrored eyes turned back to Elias. "You claim the creature you saved is not a threat. Prove it." Elias hesitated. "Prove it." "Yes," the speaker said. "Bring it here. If it is truly tamed, it will not harm us." Gasps echoed around the hall. Even Kael'tor looked uncertain. "Sir, that's highly unwise." "Do it," the speaker commanded. Moments later, the chamber doors opened with a low mechanical hiss. The ground trembled as the dragon was brought in, still weak but awake. Its golden eyes glowed faintly under the containment field that surrounded it. Every alien in the chamber froze. Even through the shield, the creature's presence filled the room. Immense, ancient, powerful. The council guards aimed their weapons. Elias stepped forward. "Deactivate the weapons," he said firmly. "If you aim at it, it will feel threatened." "Silence, human," Kael'tor snapped. But the council speaker gestured for the guards to lower their arms. The containment field opened slightly. The dragon's head lifted, scanning the room. Its breathing echoed through the chamber like thunder rolling across mountains. Then its eyes found Elias. He took a step forward, slow, steady, fearless. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe here." The dragon blinked once. Then, to everyone's shock, it lowered its head to the ground in front of him. The entire chamber gasped. Elias reached out and placed a hand against the creature's snout. "You see? It remembers." Kael'tor's voice trembled with anger. "Tricks. It's manipulating you." "No," Elias said calmly. "It's trusting me. That's something none of you gave it a chance to do." The dragon made a low sound. Not a growl, but something softer, almost musical. The translation drones couldn't interpret it. But the meaning was clear in the silence that followed. The council speaker leaned back, expression unreadable. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "you have done something unexpected." Elias didn't speak. He kept his hand on the dragon's scales, feeling the warmth beneath them. Then the speaker's tone turned cold again. But your defiance still cannot go unpunished. You are to be confined to ship quarters until the council decides your fate. The creature will remain under guard. Kael'tor smirked. Count yourself lucky, human. Most traitors don't get to walk away breathing. Elias looked back at him, voice low but steady. Maybe, but I don't see any of you breathing life back into the dying. As the guards led him away, he looked over his shoulder one last time. The dragon's eyes followed him, glowing softly through the light. That gaze said something the council couldn't understand. Loyalty, gratitude, maybe even friendship. And as the chamber doors closed behind him, Elias knew one thing for certain. The council wasn't just afraid of the dragon. They were afraid of what it meant. Because if a human could earn the trust of a creature bred for destruction, then maybe humanity wasn't the weakest race in the galaxy anymore. The cell was cold and silent. Commander Elias Ward sat on the narrow bench, staring at the dim light flickering above his head. It had been 2 days since the council hearing. 2 long, restless days. The guards brought him food but no news. No one spoke to him. No one told him what would happen next. He didn't care about his rank or even his freedom anymore. All he could think about was the dragon. Was it still alive? Were they hurting it? Or worse, studying it like a weapon again? He rubbed his hands together, still covered in faint burn scars. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that golden eye looking back at him. Not with hate, but with trust. The sound of footsteps echoed in the corridor. The door slid open, and Admiral Kael'tor entered, his tall frame casting a sharp shadow across the room. "Human," Kael'tor said coldly. "You should thank the council. They voted against your execution." Elias looked up slowly. "How generous." Kael'tor's reptilian eyes narrowed. "Don't mistake mercy for weakness. You will be transferred to a transport vessel tomorrow. Back to Earth. The council is done with you." Elias frowned. "And the dragon?" "The creature is being moved to a high-security containment bay," Kael'tor said. "Its energy levels are rising rapidly. It's becoming unstable. It will be terminated within the next cycle." Elias stood up fast, his voice sharp. "Terminated? It's not dangerous. It's recovering," Kael'tor hissed. "You don't understand what you've done. That thing's energy core is reactivating. If it wakes fully, it could destroy the station, or worse." Elias clenched his fists. "Then let me talk to it. Let me calm it down." Kael'tor's expression hardened. "Enough. You've already broken every rule we have. Don't make this worse." He turned and left. The door sealed shut again, leaving Elias alone with the cold hum of the lights. But his mind was racing. Something wasn't right. If the dragon's energy was rising, it wasn't random. It was trying to communicate, to reach someone. And he knew exactly who. Him. That night, alarms shattered the silence. Elias was half asleep when the floor shook beneath him. The lights went red. A voice blared through the station's comm system. "Containment breach in Sector 12. All personnel evacuate immediately." Elias's heart leapt. Sector 12, that was where they kept the dragon. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He slammed his fist against it. "Open up." No response. The alarms grew louder. Smoke began to pour from the vents. Then, without warning, the lock on his door clicked. It slid open by itself. Elias froze. The corridor outside was empty. Sparks flickered along the walls. And for a split second, he swore he heard a low, deep voice inside his head. "Come." He didn't think, he just ran. The halls were chaos. Soldiers ran in every direction, shouting orders. Some were injured, others carried containment gear. The deeper Elias went, the stronger the vibration under his feet became. The air shimmered with heat. When he reached the containment bay, the doors were already half melted. Inside, the dragon lay chained within a magnetic field, thrashing in pain. Sparks of golden lightning tore through the air. "Restrain it," a guard shouted. "It's overloading." But nothing worked. The dragon's body glowed brighter, the chains snapping one by one. Its roar shook the entire station. Elias didn't hesitate. He ran straight into the room. "Elias!" one of the medics screamed. "You'll be vaporized." He didn't stop. He pushed through the energy field. The heat burned his armor, but he forced his way closer until he stood right in front of the dragon's head. "Hey!" he shouted over the roar. "It's me. You're all right." The dragon's eyes were wild, glowing like molten suns. Its wings twitched, sending shockwaves across the floor. "Listen to me," Elias yelled. "You're not dying. You're safe." The dragon's head turned sharply toward him. Their eyes met, gold and human brown, and the chaos around them seemed to fade. A low hum filled the air, deep and steady. Then, in Elias's mind, he heard the voice again. "I remember you." Elias gasped. "Yes, it's me. Elias, you're safe now. You're not alone." The dragon's breathing slowed slightly. Its energy pulse stabilized. The light in the room dimmed, but the soldiers outside saw only danger. "Fire suppression field. Activate it," someone yelled. "No," Elias shouted. "Stop. Don't." A surge of blue energy shot through the room, hitting the dragon's flank. The creature roared in pain, thrashing violently. The containment walls cracked. Elias turned on the soldiers. "You're killing it. Stand down, human," a guard shouted, raising his weapon. But before they could fire again, the dragon slammed its wings down, breaking the remaining chains. The blast threw everyone back. The lights shattered. The entire station shook. When the dust cleared, Elias was lying on the floor, his head spinning. The dragon loomed over him, free at last. The shadow covered the entire bay. The soldiers pointed their weapons, trembling. "Shoot it! Shoot it!" But the dragon didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its head until its snout rested near Elias. Elias looked up slowly, breathing hard. You could have killed us all." The dragon's voice echoed in his mind again, calmer now. "No, you saved me. I protect you." The soldiers froze in disbelief. Elias stood up, stepping between them and the dragon. "You see," he said, his voice shaking, "it's not a threat. It understands." The commander of the security team shouted, "It's manipulating you. Move aside." Elias spread his arms. "No one fires." For a tense moment, no one moved. The air buzzed with raw power. Then Kael'tor entered the bay, his eyes wide in shock. "What have you done?" Elias didn't answer. The dragon turned its head toward the admiral, its eyes glowing brighter. Kael'tor reached for his weapon, but before he could draw, the dragon let out a sound. Not a roar this time, but something softer. A low, rumbling tone that vibrated through the entire room. All at once, the alarms went silent. The red lights faded to white. Elias looked around in disbelief. "What is it doing?" Kael'tor's voice trembled. "It's syncing with the station's systems." The holographic screens flickered, displaying strange symbols. Dragon runes mixed with alien script. Then, a translated message appeared on the main display. "The human gave me life. I give protection." Everyone stood frozen. No one could speak. Elias stared at the dragon, whispering, "You understand us." The creature blinked once, slow and sure. Kael'tor lowered his weapon slowly, speechless. "Impossible." Elias smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. "Yeah," he said. "Humans do impossible things." The dragon's wings unfolded, stretching wide. For the first time, it didn't look like a weapon. It looked alive, intelligent, majestic. It turned its head toward Elias, and for a moment, human and dragon simply stared at each other. A bond formed, something deeper than words. Then, as if sensing the chaos it had caused, the dragon looked at the hole in the containment wall. Beyond it, stars glittered through the open void of space. It stepped forward slowly. Elias placed a hand on its neck. "Where are you going?" The dragon's voice came again, softer than before. "To see the stars again." It spread its wings, glowing with golden light. Wind and energy surged through the bay. Soldiers shielded their faces as the dragon rose slowly into the air. Before it left, it turned one last time toward Elias. "Thank you, human." Then, with a flash of light, it shot out through the breach and disappeared into the endless sky. Elias stood there, watching the fading trail of gold across the stars. The soldiers were speechless. Even Kael'tor said nothing. Finally, the admiral broke the silence. "You've doomed us all," he said quietly. Elias shook his head. "No," he whispered. "I think we just made history." The silence after the dragon's flight was almost louder than the alarms had been. The entire station floated in shock. Panels still smoked. The air still hummed with static energy from the creature's escape. But for the first time in hours, there was no sound of weapons, no screaming, no chaos. Only the endless hum of the stars outside. Commander Elias Ward stood in the middle of the ruined containment bay. His clothes burned, his skin marked with dust and light bruises. Around him, soldiers whispered nervously, their weapons lowered but their eyes wide with fear. Kael'tor finally turned toward him. The admiral's voice was cold and trembling. "You let it go." Elias didn't flinch. It wasn't a prisoner. It was alive. It deserved freedom. Kael'tor's hands shook with barely contained rage. "Do you understand what you've done? That thing could destroy an entire world if it chooses. And you just let it go." Elias looked toward the massive hole in the wall where the dragon had vanished into space. "No," he said quietly. "I trusted it." Kael'tor's tail flicked in anger. "You trusted a beast that burned 5 planets to ash." Elias met his gaze, calm and unshaken. "And maybe it was just trying to survive on those planets. Just like us." The admiral said nothing for a long moment. Then, in a low growl, he said, "You are under arrest, Commander. The Council will decide your fate." 2 guards stepped forward, their weapons drawn. Elias didn't resist. He just raised his hands slowly. "Fine," he said. "But remember, if it wanted to destroy you, it already would have." Hours later, Elias sat in another cold chamber. This one larger, filled with alien voices echoing through a dome of light. The Galactic Council had gathered. Dozens of alien leaders from across the colonies stared down at him. Their faces were a mix of fear, confusion, and hatred. Kael'tor stood in the center, presenting the report. The human violated direct orders, broke containment, and assisted a known Class 7 entity in escaping custody. The creature has disappeared into unmonitored space. For all we know, it could already be preparing for an attack. A wave of murmurs filled the chamber. Elias spoke clearly, his voice echoing through the hall. "It won't attack. It's intelligent. It understands mercy now." An insectoid delegate hissed from across the room. "Mercy? Humans think everything can be tamed by emotion. You have no idea what these beings are capable of." Another alien, one of the reptilian kind, slammed his fist on the console. "That creature was a weapon of the old war. Do you want us all wiped out again?" Elias raised his voice, steady but filled with conviction. "You all see monsters because you created them. You experimented on it, tortured it, treated it like a lab experiment. And when it fought back, you called it evil." The room fell silent. "Maybe the real monsters," he said softly, "are the ones who never tried to understand." Kael'tor's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Enough. You are not here to make speeches. You are here to answer for your crimes." Elias stared at him. "Then call them crimes of compassion." Kael'tor stepped closer. "You've doomed this alliance. If that dragon returns with vengeance." A low rumble shook the chamber. The lights flickered. Everyone froze. The sound grew louder. Deep, thunderous, distant but approaching fast. The council members looked around nervously. "What is that?" someone shouted. A guard rushed in, breathless. "Admiral, something massive just exited hyperspace near the station." Kael'tor turned sharply. "Put it on the screen." The central dome filled with a projection of space. And there it was, a massive shape emerging from the stars. Golden light rippled around it like waves of fire. The dragon. Gasps filled the chamber. Some council members leapt from their seats. Others shouted orders. Shields up. Activate defense grid. Prepare the evacuation routes. Kael'tor's voice roared above them all. Weapons online. Target that creature. Elias stood, his heart pounding. Wait! Don't shoot! No one listened. The defense systems hummed to life. Dozens of plasma cannons extended from the station walls. But before anyone could fire, the dragon's wings spread wide, and a golden shield shimmered between it and the station. It wasn't attacking. It was protecting. The dragon hovered there, its eyes glowing softly. Then, through the station's comms, a deep voice resonated. I came back. The human is not my enemy. The entire chamber went silent. The voice was calm, clear, ancient and wise. Every alien in the room froze in disbelief. Kael'tor looked at Elias, then back at the hologram. It speaks. Elias smiled faintly. Told you. The dragon continued, its voice echoing through every corridor of the station. You feared what you could not control. You tried to cage me, but one among you saw me as more than a beast. Elias felt his chest tighten as the dragon's gaze turned toward him through the hologram. This human risked his life to show mercy. I owe him a debt and a warning. Kael'tor frowned. A warning. The dragon's tone darkened. Something else is coming. Something far worse than me. The hologram flickered. Static filled the air as golden light flashed across the dome. The same power that made me, the weapon that forged my kind, still exists. And it stirs once more. The room filled with terrified whispers. What is it talking about? Another weapon? A second dragon? Elias's voice was calm but grave. No, it's not another dragon. It's something that created them. Something they couldn't destroy. The dragon spoke again, softer this time. Prepare yourselves. When the darkness returns, you will need the same courage this human showed. Then, in a burst of golden light, the hologram vanished. Outside, the dragon soared away, leaving only a trail of fire across the stars. The chamber was silent again, but it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence of fear. Kael'tor finally spoke. Commander Ward, he said quietly. It seems your friend has delivered us a prophecy. Elias looked up at him. Not a prophecy, he said. A warning. Kael'tor's expression softened, the anger fading. What do you believe this darkness is? Elias stared at the stars on the hologram, the same stars the dragon had disappeared into. I don't know, he said. But if that thing is afraid of it, then we should all be. The council murmured among themselves, their fear turning into urgency. Plans would be made. Fleets would be built. But Elias knew none of it would be enough. Because somewhere out there, in the dark between galaxies, something ancient had woken up. And it was coming. Weeks passed. The galaxy was not the same anymore. Since the dragon's warning, fear spread across every colony, every council, every ship that drifted under the stars. Something unseen had shaken the universe, and even the bravest commanders whispered of it in silence. Elias Ward was no longer a soldier. The council stripped him of his rank, his insignia, and his authority. But they could not take away what he had seen, or what he knew was coming. He spent his days aboard an old cargo ship that orbited the edge of known space. He fixed engines, read transmissions, and waited. Sometimes, in the quiet hours of the night, he would look out the window and wonder where the dragon had gone. He didn't know if he would ever see it again, until one night the stars began to move. It started as a tremor, a faint vibration through the ship's hull. Then, the stars themselves seemed to flicker, as if something massive was blocking their light. Elias ran to the viewport and froze. A vast shape was emerging from the void, darker than space itself. The surface pulsed like molten stone. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. It was something in between a living machine, and it was heading straight toward the colonies. The communication channel screamed to life. All fleets report. Unknown entity detected near the outer rim. It's consuming power grids. energy signatures dropping across the system. It's not attacking. It's feeding. Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. The weapon that made the dragons, he whispered. It's real. He grabbed his jacket and rushed to the bridge. Send me to the front lines, he told the pilot. I know what's coming. The pilot, a young alien cadet, looked at him in disbelief. They'll never let you near it. You're a disgrace to the council. Elias smiled faintly. Then I'll go without permission. The pilot stared for a moment, then nodded. You're insane, human. Elias's grin widened. Probably. Within hours, his small shuttle broke away from orbit, heading into the dark. As he approached the dying system, he saw destruction on a scale he could barely understand. Whole moons had gone dark. The machine, the thing, was absorbing entire planets, leaving nothing but dust. And at its core, something glowed. Not light, something worse. A black sun. He could feel its pull even from light years away. His shuttle's controls flickered. The ship trembled. Then, a voice echoed in his mind, calm and familiar. You should not be here, human. Elias froze, then smiled. You came back. From behind the shadow of a shattered moon, golden light filled the void. The dragon appeared, larger than ever. Its wings spreading across the darkness, glowing with pure energy. I told you this day would come, the dragon said. The weapon that made me has awakened. Elias gripped the console. Then let's stop it. Together. The dragon's golden eyes narrowed. You are only human. You cannot survive what is coming. Elias smiled faintly. Yeah. But humans are stubborn. For a moment, the dragon was silent. Then, its deep voice rumbled with something almost like amusement. Very well. The machine turned its attention toward them, as if it sensed the challenge. A beam of black light tore through the void, hitting the dragon square in the chest. The creature roared, not in pain but defiance. Elias's ship spun out of control. Warning lights screamed. He slammed a hand on the controls. You've got one chance, big guy. Give me an opening. The dragon's voice filled his mind. You would face this thing with me? Elias laughed through gritted teeth. Guess I'm not good at following orders. Then hold on. The dragon dove through the black storm, dodging waves of burning shadow. Each strike shattered asteroids like paper. Elias followed as best he could, his shuttle barely holding together. The machine's core pulsed again. Voices, thousands of them, whispered through the comms. Old, forgotten voices. The minds of every creature it had consumed. Elias covered his ears, shouting, What is it saying? It remembers, the dragon replied. And it hungers. Another blast struck the dragon's wing. Golden scales cracked. Elias saw it falter. No, don't stop. Its power grows with fear, the dragon said. We must give it something else. What? Elias shouted. Hope. The dragon flew straight into the machine's core. The darkness folded inward, swallowing them both. Elias's ship followed, drawn by gravity and light. Inside the machine there was no space, no sound, only endless motion. Rivers of energy flowed like liquid night. At the center burned the black sun, surrounded by broken fragments of ancient creatures. Dragons, machines, and things even older. Elias's shuttle spun dangerously close to the core. We can't beat that, he shouted. No, the dragon's voice thundered. But we can change it. The creature spread its wings, light pouring from every scale. Golden veins wrapped around the black sun, forcing it back. The darkness screamed, twisting, fighting. The dragon looked down at Elias one last time. You showed me what mercy is. Now I will return it. Elias's eyes widened. Wait. What are you doing? Be ready to live, human. In one final roar, the dragon unleashed all its energy. A blinding flash tore through the machine. Every sensor went dead. Every sound vanished. Then silence. When Elias opened his eyes, he was floating. His shuttle drifted among shattered debris. The machine was gone. In its place burned a new light, soft, warm, golden. He looked around. Dragon. No answer. Only the stars. He closed his eyes, whispering, "Thank you." A faint glow touched his hand. When he looked down, a single golden scale rested on his palm. It shimmered faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias smiled weakly. "Guess you kept your promise." He leaned back in his seat, staring at the endless galaxy. Somewhere out there, he knew the dragon spirit was alive, part of the stars now. And for the first time in years, he felt peace. Later, when the rescue ships found him, he was silent. He didn't talk about the battle. He didn't speak of the light or the voices. He just handed the scale to Kael'tor and said, "Tell them the dragon saved us all." Kael'tor stared at the scale for a long time. "What will you do now, human?" Elias looked out at the stars. "Keep watching the skies, because one day we'll need him again." Years later, when children looked up at the night sky, they would see a new star, brighter than the rest, glowing faintly gold. The scientists said it was a supernova. But those who remembered whispered another story, that it was the light of a dragon, guarding them from the dark. And somewhere far beyond the galaxies, a deep voice echoed through the void. "The stars remember."